most of the people that I've mentioned crypto art to say, what is crypto art? And it's really puzzled me that not more people know about it. So I'm going to show you what I've been doing on crypto art, and then I'll tell you what crypto art is. So I've been making sculptures and drawings and paintings in crypto art and selling them and making money. And it's fantastic because basically when COVID hit, my business just died because it was one-to-one training. So I couldn't have people here. And my website was all geared around one-to-one training. So I redid it for online training, but obviously it's taken a while for the website to attract a new set of people for online training. So I was really struggling, and a friend of mine was doing crypto art, and they mentioned that they'd made, $2,000 or something selling something. And I was like, hang on, what's this? And they were like, yeah, crypto art, you should do it. You could make lots of money. So that initially it was the money that attracted me to it. I thought this might be a way. And I've always wanted a way of getting back into doing fine art because I'm not a designer. I find it really hard to do what other people want. So being a designer was always very difficult for me. And I always wanted to get back into doing fine art and doing my sculptures. So I saw this as a way of doing that. So these are some examples. I do animated sculptures as well. That's another one. And then I've organised exhibitions in the metaverse, so in virtual spaces. So this is the She Art exhibition that I've just finished exhibiting. It's actually still exhibiting at the moment in Crypto Voxels. So it's virtual space that you can visit in your browser or with a VR headset, and you can look at artworks by other people and you can buy the artworks if you want to. So in order to understand what crypto art is, what we're going to do is start by looking at traditional art and talking about what the problems are with it. So with traditional art, when I left college, I thought, I want to just make my sculpture and do drawings every day. That's what I wanted to do, make art daily. I couldn't because I needed money. So I had to then get a job. And that job led me in all sorts of ways that distracted me from doing my art. And you've seen some of those. I was a chef, I was a prop maker, I was a DJ. I did graphic design, which I'm not a graphic designer, and training as well. And everything that I did took me further away from my art. And I think some of it was through necessity, but some of it was through fear of failure. So I thought, I'll just do training. I'll teach other people how to do art, and that'll almost be as good as doing art myself. So anyway, as a traditional artist, that's what you have to do, make art daily. And you either suffer and make no money, and then hopefully eventually sell it, or you take another job. And it involves a lot of networking with the art establishment. That's another thing I'm not good at. I've got Asperger's and ADHD, which makes me very anxious in social situations. I'm not a natural networker. I find it very difficult to have conversations with people, especially in groups. That was always difficult. And even in Brighton, although I've been in the digital media industry for a long time and I live in Brighton, I hardly know anyone in the digital media industry in Brighton. Most of my friends are online. I just find that easier. So you have to network with the art establishment, and you have to then get exhibitions. So you have to have a kind of tactile product. And then you sell if you're lucky. And to be lucky, you also need to be chosen. You need to be one of the chosen few. So you need to fit into the art establishment. And then we've got purely digital art. Problems up till now with digital art are copies can be made, so it can't be collected or auctioned. And that's why people like Sotheby's and Christie's haven't really been interested in digital art, partly because they can't control it and partly because it can't be collected or auctioned, because you can make copies of it. In order for it to be collectible, it has to be made into a collectible format for auction, or for sale. So it could be an animation made into a film, for example, that's shown at the film festivals, and you will get some people paying to see it and you can earn money through that. Or you can make your art into prints or fabrics or t-shirts. A lot of people make stickers now with digital art, and you sell them online. So that's another option. And then many artists do what I did. They become designers because they somehow think art and design are the same thing, and they make money from that rather than from tangible products. So then along comes crypto art, and crypto art is basically digital art It's not only digital art, but it's mainly digital art that is tokenized on the blockchain. Now, you might hear the word blockchain and think, want to run away. If you've heard of Bitcoin, it's basically a digital currency that's an alternative currency to our standard currency system. And it's built on transactions. So every transaction on the blockchain is recorded. So it's a financial system that cannot be fiddled. And that's why the people in power, the governments, are very nervous about it, because it's something that can't be manipulated in the way that our current financial system can be manipulated. But anyway, the point is that each transaction has to be recorded, which is called tokenization. And then someone came up with the idea of, well, why can't we tokenize artwork in the same way that we can tokenize finance? So you attach a piece of art to a token, which is recorded on the blockchain, and that becomes a unique piece of art. It's the only copy of that art that has been tokenized by the artist, so it therefore makes it collectible. So it's associated with a unique and provably rare token that exists on the blockchain, and that gives it a value. So it provides the concept of digital scarcity, and so makes the art collectible and thus gives it a value. So say I do a painting, it could be, 500 copies of that painting, but only one would be the one that's been tokenized by me. So it's the one with the value. So in the same way that you can go and see the Mona Lisa. You could buy a print of the Mona Lisa. You could buy a postcard of the Mona Lisa. Someone could do a forgery of the Mona Lisa. None of them are the Mona Lisa. Only that one is the Mona Lisa. So it's exactly the same. And the value is not really to do with the product. It's to do with the trust. It's trusting that that is the genuine copy. So that's what gives it value. So crypto art means that art can be digitally native. So for the first time, artwork can be created, editioned, bought and sold, all digitally. There's no making it into a tangible product. There's no having to make it into a design to sell it. And it's democratic and permissionless. So you don't have to be networking with the art establishment to do it. Anyone can do it. Everyone is encouraged to participate regardless of skills, training, class, gender, race, age, creed, etc. So you do get a lot of untrained artists making art. Then you get people who are trained artists making art in crypto art as well. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great. So there's quite a few different areas. There's also an area of crypto art called collectibles, which is more to do with things like gaming cards. Like we used to get trump cards when we were kids, where you would get a card with vehicles on it, and different vehicles would be worth more than other vehicles, and you'd have to collect them. So it's exactly the same. It's a digital version of that. So the most famous one was CryptoPunks. So there were these little pixelated pictures of punks, and people collected them. And some of them sell for thousands of dollars now. At the time, they were bought for, pennies. And it's decentralized. So the tools and guidelines are designed to reduce the power of gatekeepers and middlemen. It's designed to be completely democratic, open to anyone. Now, obviously, collectors will have tastes and they will buy a specific kind of art, and that art will become more popular. So through people collecting, things will become more refined naturally, but it's not through a gatekeeper curating the art. It's through people just buying it, saying they like it, and sharing it with other people. It's not to say it's without its problems, but I think it's preferable to, lots of incredibly rich people deciding who can and can't make art. So you have what are called crypto patrons. They're basically just collectors. And a lot of crypto art is collected by the crypto rich, who are a group of basically savvy technologists and investors who got into cryptocurrency very early. That's changing, by the way, but before we get onto that, just to explain a bit about how that happened. Basically, they got into it and they were investing money. Investing in money is boring. So then the art came along and they thought, actually, this is a way of investing in the money, but also investing in art at the same time. So they saw it as a way of being able to get this incredible collection of art around them, but also be investing in money. Because when they buy the art, they buy it at an intrinsic value. So say they buy the art at the equivalent of £500. That's how much it costs at the time, and it's recorded on the blockchain at £500. Then if other collectors want to buy it, they'll start offering more. So it still has the value of the currency at the time, but it also has the collectible value. So it's a way of adding value to money, basically. And it's almost, for artists, it's like a way of creating money from nothing. Well, it's not from nothing because it's from what you create. But it's like giving artists this role of mining the currency in a way, because we're creating value where there isn't any value. And that's why artists have quite a powerful position in all of this. A piece of crypto art is known as an NFT. That stands for non-fungible token. Crypto art is pro-artist, it's not pro-collector. We'll have a look at the blockchain platforms in a little while, but they often take little to no commission from artists. Most of them take 10%, whereas if you go to a gallery, they'll take 50% at least. Artists are often remunerated for every future sale as well. So if I sell a piece of artwork on Super Rare, I get all of the money for that, apart from 10%. And then if that collector that bought it then goes and sells it to another collector, I get 20% or 10%, depending on which platform I'm on, of that sale as well. So it's almost like royalties. So as it continues to sell, I still get a little bit of a kickback from it. And then because crypto art is open to everyone, judging it by traditional artistic standards kills what's great about it. So instead, it's best to be a bit more open-minded and judge crypto art by what they call dankness or potency of expression and creativity. So other things to note, collaborations are a big part of crypto art. So a lot of crypto artists collaborate with other crypto artists to come up with something more unique, and it can't be copied. So a lot of people say, oh, well, I'll just create a copy of your crypto art piece. I'm like, great, make a copy, share it online, get as many people to make copies as you can, because the more copies that are made, the better for me, because then that image becomes shared and becomes more popular and more people want to buy it. So when you make your crypto art, you can make it a one-off original and sell it for slightly more, or you can make multiple editions in the same way that you would make prints, and you can sell prints for less. Quite often what I'll do is I'll make a high resolution one-off original, and then I'll make smaller prints that people can buy if they haven't got the same amount of money as the big collectors have. So yeah, the value of the art equals the value of the currency, which is called Ethereum, which we'll get onto in a little while, and the collectability value as well. And as I said, you want to encourage sharing of your art because it's free advertising. It stops you being worried about people copying your art. You just think, yeah, do it. You might think, well, what do the collectors do with the art? A lot of them buy digital frames. You can buy, full-size digital frames that hang on your wall and will play the art in sequence, or you can have different frames showing different artworks. There's one of the platforms is called Async, and they've made an app for Apple TV that will stream tokenized artworks. So any artwork that you've bought will be streamed directly through to the app. This is a good link. This is what is crypto art, and some of the stuff that I've already said is taken or is referred to in this document. So this is basically a kind of a quick explainer of the history of crypto art and how it came about. And there's a bit more detail in there about some of the politics. There have been some... So anything to do with blockchain is going to have some kind of dodginess associated with it somewhere along the line. Because it also attracts a lot of people who want to slip under the radar. So most people will know about Silk Road, where you could buy drugs and guns and all sorts of things on the dark web using cryptocurrency. So that's one example. Another example is the alt-right using some of the artwork from crypto art. And that has been really bad for crypto art because it's kind of tainted it a little bit. So there were some of these collectibles that turned into memes that were then used by the alt-right. Now that doesn't mean that those memes were designed by the alt-right. It means that they were just used by them. But because of that, Some people are nervous of getting involved with crypto art, but all I can say is most of the people that I've met are really good people. There are some dodgy people in crypto art, but it's easy to spot them and it's easy to stay. The community is really strong, so people will protect you. As a new crypto artist, they'll guide you towards the right people. So this is another good website for keeping on top of the latest news and the latest, new artists. Originally, the only people that were into crypto art were kind of underground artists, but now more and more well-known artists are joining crypto art. Don't know if you know Beeple. Beeple's a really famous, well-known 3D artist who makes music videos and stuff. He's on the crypto art scene. Kid Mograph is on crypto art. Moratapak is on crypto art. John Norlander. Lots of quite well-known artists are jumping on there now, and more people. I'm finding more and more people saying to me, "How do I get into crypto art?" And it's great because it's not the kind of thing you want to stop people getting into. You want to encourage it to get bigger and bigger because it's good for everyone, or good for all artists anyway. This is a good podcast. They do some really great interviews with some of the best artists in crypto art. This is an interesting website to look at. This is Dada Art, which is a basically daily drawing app online. Okay, so crypto art's not for everyone. Some people find it a bit overwhelming. Like, you have to kind of get involved in the community a little bit in Twitter or Instagram, which isn't for everyone. So you do get the odd person. This person here is one of the best generative artists I've ever seen. Makes art through programming. He's just left, and it's known as social suicide in the crypto art scene. So he's just left. But as a leaving gesture, he's left all of his art and his code for anyone to use. So there's a lot of sharing like that. People share their code freely and share their art freely.